Welcome to Beyond the Headlights,
where we turn our pain into purpose
and raise our voices against drunk driving. Hi, I'm Destiny.
And I'm Jennifer, and today on our podcast we have a special guest, a very special guest, my niece Ella. So this podcast is going to be just a little bit tough for me, I think, not for her. She says she's fine, but Ella was very close with Grace, and she also was friends with one of the people in the other car. So we're just going to kind of pick her brain a little bit and see if, to get a perspective on somebody this age.
I think it'll be eye-opening and just like a different perspective that like we don't usually have the opportunity to like have.
Right. Mm-hmm. So welcome, Ella.
Thank you.
You excited?
I am.
Okay, cool. Do you want to just jump in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
All right. So the first question, and I am super interesting, just FYI, I don't know the answers to any of these questions, and this is not really, we don't sit around and chit chat about things that have happened, so I am very curious in each of these, and of course Destiny doesn't know those answers either. But can you share one of your favorite memories of Grace?
My favorite memory has to be the day that I told her that I was just having a bad day. And she had texted me. She was like, okay, I'll come get you. I'll come pick you up. Aww. And I hadn't even told her what happened. She had zero clue. She just knew I needed her, so she came and got me. She picked me up. She said, we're getting Starbucks. You're going to have to be okay with that. I was like, I'm fine with that. So we went to Petland. That was the first time we went. This was a regular thing for us, though. And after that, we drove around, and she was tight on money, so we did Ubering. And we...
DoorDash. She did DoorDash.
Yes, DoorDash, not Uber.
Yeah.
DoorDash. But we did DoorDash, and I think we went to Target that night, and just kind of walked around there. And we stayed out pretty late. I mean, it was probably 11:30 before she dropped me off. So.
Oh, wow. How much older was Grace than you?
Oh, gosh, she had... I mean, it was a pretty big age gap, maybe 6 years.
Yeah, I think so. So when she left, she was 23, and you were 15.
So like 8 years.
So 8, yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was.
8,
it was a pretty big age gap.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she looked at you as the little sister. And
and that's kind of, we were always the duo in the family. Like that was the cousin I got along with the most. Like I'd always joke around with Jake, my oldest cousin, but she was the only one I really got along with.
You had a similar like soul connection. You liked a lot of the same things. You liked a lot of the same music. You laughed at the same jokes. And I think that for me, I didn't recognize the bond that you had until after.
And I don't think I did either, honestly. Like, I don't think I really realized how much we did have in common, or even how much we were, I guess, close until... And we only really started getting super close until, like, a year before it happened, which sucks. But we started getting close.
Well, because you were out of that, you had entered the... I think at 23, she still felt like she was a teenager.
Well, I think I had entered the teen stage.
I'm 30 and I don't feel, just kidding, I'm 31 and I still feel like I just graduated and then I see her and I'm like, you are how old? Like, I guess I am an old lady now.
No, I think that you were in an age that she felt like she wasn't far out of that age. Like when you're a younger teen or even in single digits, it's different. She's like the caretaker over you, but
when I was mature for my age too,
and I think she saw you as equals, like little sister, but in the best way.
Right, yeah. We didn't fight, I guess.
This is going to be hard for me.
Oh, what kind of things did you and Grace do or bond, like, when you guys were growing up together? Like, what were things that you guys enjoyed doing together?
Just, like, we just had so much in common. So we would, like, we would never, like, watch Disney movies together, but we would always talk about it.
Make the references.
Yeah. And we never, like, did a whole lot together, but we would always, at family functions, we would always sit together. We would always help each other open each other's gifts. Like, that was always... At Christmas, I'd always have to be by Grace every time. And she would always...
A lot of good pictures.
There is a lot. Like, there's one with me with underwear on my head.
That's hilarious.
That she's, like, looking at the gift, and I have the gift on my head. But we would always be together at functions and kind of open each other's and kind of have fun and bond over that. We'd bond over music. I remember this one time she went to Pitbull, and I had texted her. I was like, where was my invite? And she was like, okay, we'll go next time. Mm-hmm. And so we had like planned for other concerts together, in hopes that we were going to go to more together, because we just had a lot of similar music tastes. But we did a lot, honestly. Like whenever we started hanging out, like Petland was our thing. Mm-hmm. We would go hang out with puppies, bunnies, anything in the category of animals. Right. It was us.
Well, and I think Grace always wanted a horse, mm-hmm. and she loved horses. I think I tell people all the time that her and Jake used to fight over the fact that she wanted to be a pony when she grew up. So when you got your horse, I just think about Grace like with the biggest smile on her face, like go Ella.
She used to volunteer at
Strong
a place,
Tower.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And I remember there was a time I went with her. And that's another thing we always just bonded over was horses. Yeah. And like I said, anything animal-wise. But we would always just do a bunch of just random stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I remember there was one time she had turned on a song, and I was like, wait, you like them? And she's like, yeah. I was like, me too. Mm-hmm. And we were in the Dairy Queen, or Dairy King. I get confused between Jack and... because there's Dairy King and Dairy Queen.
Oh, you're fine.
We were in Dairy Queen. Yeah, we were in Dairy Queen. And we were getting ice cream or something. Or maybe it was a DoorDash order. I don't know. But that's when we were just like, we would just do that like all night. Yeah. And be out until like 12. Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like in every family, like you connect with a cousin or a person, and she was like your like connection. And
she's always been like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Grace was, I've talked before about how she was such a go-getter. Like if she wanted to do something, she would make it happen. Mm-hmm. She found ways to make, all the ends meet, on her own. So mm-hmm. while she was working a full-time job, she would DoorDash mm-hmm. in the evenings just for extra spending money. Right. Or like if there was just something, she loved TikTok Shop. Go-getter. Yeah. So all the things on TikTok Shop that she wanted, she would find ways to get it without taking from the budget. So she would DoorDash. And I know like at the funeral or the celebration of life, that was one of your favorite memories mm-hmm. that you had the pastor talk about was the DoorDash stuff, because
and it really was, and we just talked about so much that like I've never really talked to anybody about. Mm-hmm. And she had just talked to me about a lot of things. We talked together, and it was just like a very nice thing that we weren't
sounding board. Right. Like you didn't have to worry about her telling somebody what mm-hmm. you were thinking, or you telling somebody what she was going through.
And no judgment whatsoever. Right. You could just connect,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you remember the last conversation?
It was 2 days before. It was the 27th, I believe. And she had texted me asking if we wanted to hang out. And sometimes I don't have the best relationship with my dad. So I made the choice that I wasn't going to ask him, because I was just afraid of what he would say. Just because it's my mom's side. Yeah. So she had asked me if I wanted to hang out, and I was like, I'm sorry, I've got a lot going on tonight. Mm-hmm. Can we try another night? And she was like, yeah, absolutely. We'll get something soon, maybe next weekend.
So that was 2 days before.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Or it might have been the night before. I don't remember. It was one of the two.
It was soon.
Yeah. Yep. So I always kind of go back on that, and sometimes I think about like, okay, what if I did go and hang out with her?
Yeah.
So that's always something that's kind of difficult for me. But
and
not a lot of people know that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that is super tough. I think you said beforehand that you've got this, but I know going backwards, we talk about woulda, coulda, shoulda all the time. Right. And the fact that I asked her to spend that weekend with me painting her house because they were going to put it on the market. And I have so much grief over not pushing that, like, and even silly things like if I wouldn't have let her move to Ellsbury, well, she was an adult. How could I stop her?
Well,
from
that's
moving?
Exactly what I've thought. Like, okay, what if she was too tired to go hang out with her friends the next day and didn't go out?
Yeah,
but in reality, we can't stop that, and that's not going to do anything.
No, you're right.
In all, just flat out, like she wasn't going to be too tired not to go hang out with her friends. So
and then how would that have made her friends feel if they didn't get to see her one last time? You know what I mean? Like, or at least like I try to find the silver lining in everything, and like that like she was so happy that night being with the people that she really liked, and like I try to find things like that just to kind of like wiggle some comfort into like the cruddy like feelings.
Yeah, and you have to, because without it, I think that's where you get stuck in depression and you get stuck in grief. Right. Grief is not meant to, it will never go away, but you're not meant to be stuck in it. And being stuck would be like replaying woulda, coulda, shoulda. Right. And I think that it's healthy to say, yeah, it sucked. I wish things would have been different. But it, like you said, it's not different.
Right. Yeah. There was nothing that I could have done or changed.
You have to accept your reality to move forward in life.
Right.
Yeah. This is also a tough question for me, because I'm going to put myself in the situation, and then I want you to put yourself in the situation just so that we can see the differences. But I remember so it happened at 11:46 on April 29th. I remember after the officer left and your mom and grandma and stepdad came over to the house, I remember as soon as I saw your mom, I said, oh my gosh, it's Ella's birthday. So your birthday is on April 30th. It happened literally 14 minutes before your birthday. Yeah. And I remember texting you the next day and saying, really, I was talking to myself, but I texted you like to reassure you, but it was really to reassure me that it didn't happen on your birthday. And I remember that text. How do you feel knowing that it was so close to your...
It's not the same. It's hard every year. It doesn't really feel like a celebration. It kind of just feels like a shadow of guilt and grief. It's hard because you don't want to celebrate that when you feel like you shouldn't be. Although I do know, obviously, Grace would have wanted that for me.
Of course.
And it's especially hard with my family every year just because I feel guilty to celebrate with them or have them celebrate me so soon after. But I do remember there was a few days we had my birthday party before that. And that was the last time I saw her. That was the last time I did see her. It was my birthday party.
Family gathering. And we were all there. It was really great.
It is. And there was a picture I had with her of her hugging her fiance, and that was in the hot tub. And we were all three in there, and it was really nice just to have that with just me and her.
Yeah. It was a beautiful memory that you caught, too. And she was smiling so big. She just looked so happy.
And then there was another picture that I had actually gotten her, I call him Diego, but he's my stuffed weighted dinosaur. And I had actually gotten one for her. I don't even know what it was for, but I had gotten one for her. And I had given it to her, and she was hugging it, and I was blowing out my candles, and she was in the background right by me.
And that's the only people in the picture is her and her brother and Grace in the background while they're blowing out their candles. So it's almost like a God wink, here's a special gift for you for this moment.
And it really did all feel special. Like I think I look at those pictures all the time, and the fact you brought up my birthday kind of made me remember that was the last time we had with her, and it was for my birthday. And I want to say that was maybe a week before.
It was a week before. It was the weekend before it happened.
I have to say, like, it shows how selfless and special you are, too, to, like, have a gift for her on your birthday, you know? I don't know. I just felt like that was super special,
I've been meaning to give it to her forever. And I remember we even, like, I showed her my room. It was so stupid, but we were like going through books because that was another thing we kind of bonded over, like super randomly, was just, okay, I like reading, you like reading too. So there was this one book that I told her that she needed to read, and she was going to borrow it from me, but she didn't take it that night. But she did take Diego, that's what I call him. So because I'd been meaning to give it to her, but that was the first night she'd actually gotten it. So but
do you have Diego now?
I still have him. I'm sure she has it somewhere or whatever.
Well, I have her version of it at the house. I have it in a special box of her things. So if you ever want it, you know where it's at. And it's all yours. And then they just be like reunited sisters.
And this is so random. It kind of felt like a God sign for me as well. Whenever we went through her things, I had this little otter that had like a star or a seashell or I don't know, something, sea star, whatever you call them. And the otter was holding it, and I think it was a pink or it was a purple one. And mine was a little version of it. And then my sister Raylan had been going through the stuff, and she was like, I want this otter. And I was like, I have a little tiny version of that otter. Mm-hmm. And it was like a bigger version. I mean, it was literally like they were meant to be together. And this one that she had was pink. And I mean, it was literally, it must have been from the same brand or something. Mm-hmm. But I still have both of those, and they are in my bed almost every night. So that's another thing that's kind of always been with me ever since. But
I love that.
Do you want to talk about how you found out?
Yeah, I can. It was the morning. I remember my mom had texted me saying something about, I'm heading over to your dad's, something about along the lines, I have something important, like I'm going to be there soon.
It was your dad's weekend. Mm-hmm. So you were with him.
Correct. And I remember I had just gotten out of bed. I think I just woke up, and it sounds crazy, but I was like, I don't know why she's coming over. Maybe she's surprising me with a car. And in my head, that's what she was doing. Right. And that's in my head, that's kind of what I thought she was doing. And I remember she pulled up in my car that I actually have now. That was hers, but she had pulled up, she got out. Roger, my stepdad, was there. And they both were, you could just tell they were just like emotional. And all my siblings were there. And she had told us, and I just remember feeling like everything had stopped. Like, my brother and sister lost it. And I just kind of like just stood blankly. Mm-hmm. I remember it was just utter belief, like disbelief. Yeah. I just couldn't believe it was real. In hopes that I thought maybe the doctors were wrong, right? Or maybe she would just come back and there would be like a miracle. Mm-hmm. And I remember going back into my dad. My dad was crying. And like I said, sometimes my dad and I don't have the best relationship, and he just hugged me. Mm-hmm. And that's when I finally lost it. But, and then I remember after that we went to my grandma's, and then on the way there, that's when I found out about my friend. That I was
so you didn't know at that point?
No. I kind of found out like it had to be, there's no way that's just a coincidence. And I found out on the way to my grandma's. But
did somebody text you?
No, it was kind of just all over social media, and I was like, okay. I think I remember texting one of her best friends, asking about what had happened, and then I was like, okay, that's not a coincidence. That's the same accident. Yeah. And I remember telling my mom in the car that on the way, and I don't think anybody else found out until kind of I was ready to share that, because I knew it wasn't an easy thing.
Yeah. How did that like affect like the trauma end or like the healing or the grief aspect with you knowing like both sides, you know? It's like it's hard to be angry, but it's hard to not be angry. I know that we feel anger so much, you know what I mean? Like how did that affect you?
Well, that's honestly, it's kind of been like, I don't want to say a tear between my family, but I've always felt like I had to be sad around or angry around my family towards her, and then have to be sad for Grace. And then around my friends, because I had to go see her grandma, and everyone that had like custody of her and everything like that. So I actually went over there that day, and I spent the day with my friends instead, because I just couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And it just felt like I had to be sad for the other girl around my friends. And it really just had to be, there was two different sides of it, and I felt like I had to pretend to be something around each different side. Kind of
like a tug of war.
It really was, and I felt terrible to even mention it around my family. And it kind of just felt like all eyes on me, just because that's such, right. Mm-hmm. And it was just very hard, and I felt guilty to go to anything for her. I mean, I didn't even go to her funeral, just because it was just too hard for me to see people upset about something that was so tragic. That was a decision. So
well, I think I knew this was going to be tough for me, because we have not had very in-depth conversations about it. I know I feel very protective over your experience, and I don't ever want you to feel like you have to be a different person around me.
And that's not on like my family. It's just it is a very, very difficult thing to
and I
figure out how to feel.
And I just think this is so important that we have this conversation. I wish we would have probably had it in private, but I always was afraid to bring it up.
Yeah.
You know, because we found out alcohol was involved. Mm-hmm. It was suspected that night.
Right.
But it was confirmed late. I think it was the next day or the day after that. And so I was angry, and I was vocal about.
And that's natural.
Yeah.
So natural.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just was vocal about casting blame. And I don't remember shielding you from that.
No.
It wouldn't have been a natural reaction for you to do in that moment. As like a mom who's burying her child as well, you know?
I remember thinking how horrible it sucked for you.
Yeah.
Because you knew both Grace and her. And it was 14 minutes before your birthday.
Right.
And I remember just every time you were around, I did feel like I wanted to put a bubble around you to protect you, because that's so much. It's just not fair.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not fair that any of us have to go through this. It's not fair for you guys as kids to have this heaviness. It just, I never questioned God's plan until this happened. And then I had so many questions, and I felt so betrayed by it all. Like, not only are you taking Grace from me, you're taking her from you and from all the kids, you know.
Right.
And that was the first time I had ever questioned the big plan, you know. So I did, when you were around, I did try to shield you from my feelings.
Right.
I probably wasn't very good at it, and I couldn't tell you if I was, because I don't really remember, other than remember thinking that it just sucks for you.
Yeah. It was very hard. I mean, it's still not easy, especially just around my friends. I mean, my whole friend group, they were just best friends with her.
Yeah.
And I wasn't best friends with her, but I was friends. We had classes, and I remember when I tore my ACL, she would walk me to different classes, and she'd make fun of me for my crutches, and I still have a picture of her making fun of me for it. But like I said, we weren't best friends, but we were definitely close.
Yeah.
And from the family's perspective, I just want you to know, nobody would have blamed you for going to the funeral. Nobody would have questioned. I remember you went to a balloon release that so it happened on Sunday.
I think it was that night.
That night after we found out. And I do remember thinking, well, and I might have said this out loud, but nobody is releasing balloons for Grace tonight. That
I think
sucks.
that's what my mom said.
Yeah. And it's hard, because also the spotlight of the articles were the 3 teens that died.
Right.
That was the spotlight.
Well, that's always going to be the case.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, like, as you grow up, it's harder to maintain and create friendships too.
Right.
So your circle gets smaller as you get older, and they still had this like massive circle being in school, surrounded by all of their friends. But as an adult, you don't get that.
True.
She was a very known girl. I wouldn't say popular, but in middle school she was pretty popular. But she's always been known. And my school is a pretty big school for high school, so that was another thing that kind of also created it. And the other girls in that car were also pretty known as well.
Right.
So it all was just like a big,
and whether you're 15 or 23, it's tragic. I don't ever want to take away from that ever.
Right.
But as the mom who felt like she was protecting the legacy, I was always like, the story would say the 3 teens and also the young woman from Ellsbury, you know, and it wasn't until one news station even published her name when it was like, okay, that's some validation that she was involved in that too.
Right.
And she was the one that was doing all the right things. So that really sucks. So that's where the anger was on my
that's
side.
another way that it's so hard to look at, because she did do something extremely terrible and tragic.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, yes, I love her, but at the same time, like, how do I feel? I still feel anger towards her.
Sure.
And I mean, that's gonna happen.
I mean, everyone has choices to make, but at the end of the day, like, you can be a product of your environment, and I feel like that, unfortunately, as a child in her space, like, she was a product of her environment. She was doing what she knew and what she was taught, and at the end of the day, I mean, we all can make choices, but when you're being influenced, I mean, it's sometimes hard to say no.
Right.
You know, I've had this happen to me, and I've still felt embarrassed taking an Uber when nobody else was, and I've buried my family. So, like,
yeah, good point.
I can see how it would be hard.
And I feel the
kid.
exact same way sometimes too. I mean, people look at me like I'm crazy when I say, "Hey, find a ride." Yeah. It's like, at my age, it's like a social norm to like be stupid and go do that just because it's fun.
You're invincible right now.
Or just drinking is just like the societal norm that's fun at my age, because it's new and it's fun and it's again stupid.
Yeah. No, I totally get that, and I think that it's part of being a teen to be independent and step out and do things on your own, and they're not always the right choices.
Right.
And I think it hurt me so much because I could recognize that you felt that tear and loyalty, and it was never about not being loyal to your friend.
Right.
I always tried to see it from your perspective because it is a unique perspective.
It is. It's very different.
Yeah, and it doesn't take away any of your love for Grace to go to a balloon release or even the funeral or to visit her grandma.
Right.
It just shows how incredibly caring you are as a human to recognize that people are hurting all over.
Well, and that's what, like, I recognized is, like, thinking back to my young self, like, when this happened to me at 21, like, I even, like, after burying my family, like, if I, like, started crying to my family and I saw them cry, then, like, I would shut down and I wouldn't cry anymore. So now, like, you have not only your family doing that, but your friends, too, and it makes it hard to open up to anybody.
Did you feel that way? Like, if we were crying, you couldn't...
And that's why I've never really been emotional about it. And that's just how I've always been. I mean, the first week I was pretty emotional, but ever since I just haven't been. And that's just the way I grieve. But
are you the oldest sibling in your family too? Yeah, relatable. Same.
Yeah. So
you're taking care of everyone, you know, like you've always just you take care of everybody.
There's a lot to be said for the age difference and the age birth order. That's what I was trying to say. We all wear certain hats. Yeah. The baby is always the baby, and
can I trade myself in for the baby
I
now?
I want to be the baby.
Right.
I'm done being tough. I don't want to take care of everyone anymore.
What surprised you most about grieving? This was your first big loss, right?
Oh, yeah. I had never really lost anybody before that, other than, like, a pet. But, overall, first person, close to me at least. So I kind of just realized that it just never ends. Like, it always comes in different shapes or forms. And I kind of it just goes from, like, some days I'm fine, some days I miss her more than usual. And it just hits at random times, especially when something reminds me of her or the crash. And that's really just when it hits, like, in public at the same time too.
Yeah, the inconvenient times.
Yeah. So
when you'd rather not feel anxious. And did you ever? So this is super personal, and I really don't know the answer to it. It's not on the list that I gave you. But have you ever talked to anybody professionally?
No. I mean, I've had one appointment, I think, but it wasn't directly for her. I've never really felt like I needed it, although I probably do.
Well, we've talked about how there's no right or wrong way to do it, and at different stages, like Destiny waited a while.
I waited like 8 years to go, and it was like once I hit like an anxiety attack that just would not go away, and I was like crumbling. I was like, okay, maybe I need to try something, but I struggled because how can somebody tell me how to feel better when they haven't lost their husband and child? Like, they don't really know. Like, the textbooks are only going to do so much, you know, like, for real life. But I've started going more, and I find myself that, like, it's oftentimes not even, like, uncovering, like, accident, crash trauma. It's more, like, childhood trauma that's being uncovered that, like, makes it harder to grieve the real stuff. Well, not that childhood trauma isn't the real stuff, but the real stuff of the crash, you know, or, you know, just... It's never solely about that. I find myself uncovering so many other layers, but like starting at the beginning. So I don't even feel like in therapy I've even really made it to crash trauma yet. Like I'm covering all the other that I've had to go through.
Yeah,
so
that's interesting.
It's heavy, you know, but as girls, I feel like we oftentimes talk more than guys would. And so, like, I may not have done, like, a ton of professional therapy, but with starting this widows group, 3 of the 4 leaders that, like, are on, like, this group with me, they're therapists. So, like, I surround myself by, like, good friends. And then my grandma's, like, my unpaid, unlicensed therapist. And it just works. So, like, I think we all find, like, our person.
Yeah.
And
where you feel safe and you can say things that you might not say to other people.
Right. Yeah.
Do you talk to your friends? Or was that weird too? Because
I did.
Since it was your cousin,
it really did.
Did they kind of push you out a little bit?
Not really. It almost felt like they kind of brought me in even more just because they were even more worried about me. And I think they felt bad. Yeah. Especially her grandma really took good care of me. Being in that situation, all of their moms were great towards me. Like, they were, I think a lot of them really solely focused a lot on me. Just because I had that double kind of loss. Yeah. But I think overall, I don't talk much about it anymore, just because I don't feel like I need to. But at that time, yes. So.
Do you feel like, sorry, were you going to ask something?
I was just going to say, like, rehashing it and talking about it, I feel like, yes, it can be healing, but it can also, like, rip the wound open, too. So, like, I know you have to go through the storm, but you don't have to stay in the storm either. You know, you can walk through it. Yeah. And that sounds like that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're 17 now. It's been 2 years. And you definitely are mature for your age. But it is heavy, and I know that can cause the ripple effect in other aspects of your life because, like you said, the grief is always going to be there, and talking to a therapist sometimes brings out other layers of things that have come on top of it. But just as your aunt, always know that even though it's been 2 years, if it's been 8 years or 10 years or 20 years, if you ever need to talk, there's no shame in going backwards and saying, yes, this happened 2 years ago, but there's things that I just need to talk about.
Or 8 years.
Right.
Yeah. You can run. Don't run, but I ran from it for a long time.
There's no timeline to when you can go talk to somebody if you need to. So,
like, what do you feel like needs to shift, like, in your generation, like, in a societal standpoint, to, like, make these, like, shifts, you know, like, against drinking and driving?
From your perspective.
It's hard. I don't know if I even have, like, a straight answer for that, because we've even had, like, a second issue at our school, and that has not stopped anybody. Like, that second incident, you'd think that the first one would stop it, and clearly it has not, and it's unfortunately left someone in a pretty bad state. Luckily, there was no deaths or anything, but there was somebody that was very near death. And like I said, you'd think that would stop them, but it doesn't. And I don't think people realize how hard it is and how much it damages until it happens. And I don't think it's going to stop unless people experience it. And I don't really know an answer of how to get that to
that
stop.
Is the same for adults too.
Do you feel the same way?
We do feel the same way. It is such a societal problem that until you do experience it for yourself, you don't realize how big of a deal it is. And I wish there was a better answer. And how do you talk to friends? Like, if you see it, do you address it? Or you do?
I do go to parties. Like, I am a normal normal teenager. I'm responsible with it. But for example, me and my boyfriend went to one not too long ago, and I would tell his friends, like, hey, you're not driving home, right? And they'd be like, I don't know, maybe. And I'd tell them what had happened to me. And I kind of get a little feisty with it. I'm like, look,
you should
watch what happens if you do, because that's just how I am. And they're kind of afraid of me sometimes.
Good.
But it just shows
so
that,
that's
like,
kind of what I do.
You can't even go to the party and be like a carefree teenager because of this. Like, it puts you on edge. You're
it does,
sitting there looking around at
and that's exactly what happens.
Watching.
And I am thankful for my boyfriend that stands right there and is kind of just like, look, I know that it's tough. I know it's really hard to even be here.
Yeah.
But I kind of just do my best to kind of just let that be and tell myself, look, I can't control it. As much as I do my best to tell people, it's not going to stop anybody.
No, but I love that, though, because we have talked many times about how isolating grief is and how awkward it is to be the person standing there waiting for the Uber to come pick you up.
So awkward.
It is. But so to have a person championing you, being your champion in your corner, who's like, I'll stand here with you. I'll go toe-to-toe with these people about driving with you.
Right.
It's so important. If it's a friend, a boyfriend, an adult, or anybody, I think that's amazing that you have that in on your side.
I mean, I definitely do tell people. And
do you feel like it's isolated you in some ways?
Oh yeah, I think I don't really look forward to homecoming or proms. I struggle to really go to those. Last year, or this year, I guess, I didn't even go to prom. I dressed up and pretended like I was going to prom.
I did that one year too.
I didn't go, partly because I didn't want to, but at the same time, it's hard seeing all of it. And we even had like an after prom party, and even it was, I mean, I'm still gonna go, but that's hard. And I think I have changed very much from when I was a freshman and went through it, to now. I think I don't let loose and have fun very easily. And it's sad seeing that I am a teenager and I don't really do that.
Well, that's probably what's aged you. You were mature before it, but it ages you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I look at these videos and I'm like, that's not who I was 2 years ago.
Right.
The whole, it changes everything about
well,
me.
Like, childhood too, like those traumas I felt like aged me, being the oldest sibling and putting me like in a more mature like spot in my life. And then when something else like this happens to you when you're really young too, like it again like just stacks more on and you become more unrelatable to people your own age, and you're like, where do I fit? You know what I mean? And I could see that for sure.
Well, it's just crazy like seeing how even when I go through it, there's still people that know me and what I've gone through, and they still do it. I have an ex who just went to jail for those reasons, and he went through it with me right after it happened, maybe a year later. And I found out the other day that he has several DUIs, and you'd think that you have went through that with me,
right?
And it still doesn't stop you. So
we see the same. That's not something that passes through age difference and age gaps. It's people have very short-term memory over it, and we've also decided on our own with our own research that people convince themselves that they're better than everybody else, that they can do it because they're a better driver.
And I've heard that so many times at parties.
I've done it.
I've heard
a ton. I can do it.
Well, and I've heard like I've had one beer. I've had whatever. And some people are like, well, it's just 1 mile. It's just in the same neighborhood.
1 mile. And Grace was killed less than a mile from where those people.
I have
those
so
kids
many
were leaving.
people, like even the ones that where my boyfriend lives. He lives in a very small town, and he's like, look, I know you can't control this, but this is a very small town. It's normal, and it shouldn't be normal, but that's what it's considered. And it's just, look, everybody lives down the street from everybody.
So why can't they walk?
Right. And it still doesn't change anything that you're just down the street. Everyone's less than a mile. It doesn't change anything.
Does that make you scared to drive, like during the day or like normal situations, or you just not think about it obviously until?
Well, I'm going to answer that question.
I drive like, so I babysit a lot and I go home. I mean, there's times I've drove home at like 1 a.m. I mean, it does scare me, but at the same time, I purposely watch out. And I purposely pay more attention at those times. But I think, like you guys said once on here, it's not just a time that like the drunk drivers are out.
Right. There's not a certain hour.
I mean, there's literally like, it can happen at 10 a.m. It could happen at noon. It could happen anytime. So it's like, it kind of just makes you more
based on time or color or race or gender or social economic status. It doesn't discriminate on any of those things, and time definitely. There's not a drunk driving time.
It would be nice if we knew there was,
I know,
so
let's
we could
just
stay home.
stay
in my
off the
grandma
roads.
nightgown. I'm such an old lady soul, I promise.
There's nothing wrong with that. Do you find yourself feeling like it's safer at home, or has that changed?
That hasn't really. I think it did in the beginning, but I also kind of just like, I mean, I can't just live like a hermit crab and just sit at home.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
So I trust myself as a driver, even though other people might not. But
Side note, I thought you would be the safest driver in the world. And then one day it's pouring down rain and she takes a corner too fast and goes into the ditch. And I am like hysterical when I find out. And her response was pretty much, bruh, it was fine. I was fine. It only hurt like a bottom piece of the car. It was fine.
I feel like I have that nonchalantness about me too, and I just ran a curb over and scratched my less than 1-year-old rims. So
I tried parking at Walmart and I hit a cart holder the other day. So
are we twins? Am I your old twin?
I've hit so many curbs and so many things.
So it doesn't.
It's a girl thing. Okay.
When you got your license, did you feel scared, or were you just like,
well, I got my
it's
license
an
pretty
isolated?
late. I think if it would have been like, I think it would have been when I was supposed to get my license. I think it would have been different.
Oh, yeah.
But I did get my license I was like 16 and a half when I got my license. So it was, I think it was a little different.
To get it,
Yeah.
I think that, but also like I had more time to process it.
Gotcha.
And I think that really never bothered me, like the whole driving thing, honestly.
Which is crazy because, like, driving doesn't bother me either. And I was
Yeah.
in
It
the car
is,
when it
yeah.
happened. Like,
Right.
it doesn't bother me, but I do like to
Yeah.
be in control. Like, I won't ride, like, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, things like that.
Sure.
And then, like, if it's raining, which it wasn't raining when my crash happened, but if it's raining, I'm more spazzed
how I
out if
am.
other people
Yeah.
are driving, or if there's, like, traffic and I can't control everyone else around me or behind
Yeah.
me, then
I think
spazz out.
that might be something that I deal with too. I prefer to drive over like
Yes.
other people. Like my boyfriend sometimes gets mad because I tell him to slow down or stop. I don't want him to drive in the rain.
It's interesting.
Or
That
something,
you feel
and
more
I think-
control behind the wheel.
I think that's what I think that's what I also kind of feel.
As long as I'm in control,
Yeah.
I'm okay. Like, I
Right.
have, like, this control aspect, I feel like, around my entire
Yep.
life. Like, I want to control as much of it as I can because so much was taken from me.
yeah, I get that.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not, like, an unhealthy controlling
No,
person, but,
no.
like, healthy.
But even her boyfriend at the time,
Yeah.
the day after, said the same exact thing. He said, if I would have been driving, this wouldn't have happened. Like, yeah, it would have. There would have been 2 victims then.
Right.
I mean, sorry.
You
5
can't
victims.
see. Yeah, you,
You
just,
know.
sometimes things happen so fast and you can't stop them,
Well,
but I want to feel like I have the opportunity
And the
to
facts
do that.
were she
Yeah.
didn't brake, she didn't swerve, none of
didn't
those
see
things
it.
happen.
It was too quick.
So sometimes I get
Well,
where
some of
you.
that's just a blessing in disguise. Like
It is.
it really is just comfort for all of us to know that.
It was quick. She
Yeah.
wasn't scared.
Absolutely.
She
Yeah.
wasn't hurting.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
quick.
All very true.
Right.
As morbid and sad
Right,
as it sounds,
yeah.
it was good.
Well,
There's
like
a
you
silver
said,
lining.
though,
Right.
we are always looking for the positive aspects of every conversation because there is so much negative and so much pain and so much loss of
Right.
control and all of the things. And if you let yourself, you would stay in bed.
Yeah.
It's just that simple
Yeah.
because
That's
it's safe
what's
there.
easy. Yeah, it's safe and easy.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I guess when life feels hard for you, what are some things that you do to pull yourself out of bed? Or do you really have many of those moments?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I hope that doesn't sound like
No.
awful.
No.
But I don't. When I do, I have like really emotional days. And it kind of all just goes into a spiral. So it's like it starts with something that's not related to the crash.
Always.
And then it just goes
Yeah.
into the crash. It never really starts about Grace. Like it never really starts. Like I said, I've never been really super emotional about it. Unless I'm having just like a terrible day and it's like, man, I just wish that she was here. I wish that there was something like I could talk to her about or something. But no, I don't really have those moments. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is just super relatable. Like,
Yeah. Right?
Very, very similar.
Similar coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Detach, disassociate,
Yeah.
try to keep
Right.
going.
Yep.
Would you, if you had the opportunity, and we're purposely not saying that person's name because I would never want to inflict more pain or grief on any of the other friends or family members, but if you had an opportunity to say anything to her today, would you have anything to say?
I think I'd tell her that I love her. But I think even after what her actions have caused, I still love her. But I tell her that what she has caused has hurt a lot of people.
Yeah.
And whoever else was in that car, what it has caused, and what it has damaged. And if she were still here, I'd tell her that, I think she should have found a different way that didn't involve getting in a car.
Yeah, make a different choice.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been vocal that I understand legally there was one person at fault, and that's the driver of the other car. But
and that's another thing that's hard with me, too, because technically...
There were so many other people that this could have still been the same outcome.
Yeah,
so it wasn't just a choice she made, but so many people made that choice.
Yeah.
And so it is hard just to solely blame her.
Right. And it's not a whole, it's not me just blaming her for the entire thing. That she was not the driver. Like, that is...
Well,
but she still did make that decision.
It's important, though, especially not just for teens, but for anybody that, going back to the control issue, you're responsible for your choices and you're responsible for how you're going to get home. So in my eyes, there was one victim that night, and that was the person who was sober in her own lane with her seatbelt on going under the speed limit. Legally, I understand that the other people didn't make the choice because they didn't have the keys in their hand or the steering wheel in their hand.
But they still chose to get in.
But that's where it's important to remind everybody, if you're drinking and you cannot ensure that that person is 100% sober, you have Uber on speed dial or you have a friend that you can call that will pick you up, because I've said as many times, but if one of those kids would have made a different choice that night, 4 girls would still be here.
Right.
So I think I understand. I was a kid. I'm not naive to the fact that you will never have a world where kids do not drink and or do drugs.
Which is
unfortunate. We won't even have a world where adults
do it either. Yeah. Exactly. It's just so important that you're in control of your body, and if you choose to go out, you know exactly the person is 100% safe to drive, or you get somebody else who can. Yeah. What keeps you connected to Grace now?
This one's a long one.
All right, let's sit back.
I love it.
But I do a lot of things. At first, I used to send her messages all the time. There was a pretty tragic thing that happened that made me not able to text her anymore. But that was a thing I did for a really long time.
Yeah. Well, let's just say, so the phone survived.
Yeah.
And she was texting, and then somebody took the number.
A day. And it was, honestly, it kind of felt like a God sign as well. I mean, it was this little girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know how old she was. She was like, would you like to FaceTime? Like, I don't know who she was. I don't know her name. I don't know anything, but I know she was a little girl. And I remember there was one time she even sent me like a picture of Squishmallows. Yeah. And I was like, that just had to be a sign that her number was given to someone like that.
Yeah, exactly. But at first you said something, it was kind of a longer text, and she responded to the text like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? Or something like that.
Like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And the first text that you got sent you hysterical because it showed up as Grace's number calling her.
It did. Yeah. I mean, it really did. It was very random and like... So that happened, but that was something I did in the beginning, and I still like read through her messages.
Me too.
Just because like it made me laugh, like all the things that she would say. Like she'd always check on me. Like I fell asleep for like 2 hours, and she was like, "Are you okay?" She had asked me what my favorite candy was, and I didn't answer, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She goes, "You promised?" I said, "I promise. I was just sleeping." So all of that I kind of look through, and it kind of gives me like a comforting idea. And then I have my cat, Toothless,
which was her cat.
Does it really have no teeth?
No.
Like How to Train Your Dragon Toothless.
He looks just like Toothless the dragon. So
It was one of Grace's many pets that we had to figure out what to do with after. So Ella graciously adopted Toothless, who is a beast.
Oh.
He's he sometimes, my mom and I joke about it. We think Grace just sent a bat from hell, just to.
So you probably
just
wish
to
you
aggravate.
did have teeth.
Yeah, he is a difficult cat.
Yeah, so
and beautiful, like jet black with a little white patch, bright green eyes.
He's the sweetest thing, and truly, like I do believe like Grace sent me him for a reason.
Yeah.
And there's so many nights where he does just comfort me, and again, there's so many nights where I feel like Grace is just torturing me.
But distracting, maybe distracting.
Yeah. Probably more torturing, but
he doesn't. He poops on the floor and not in the litter, but on her clothes.
You're like, why? It's a cat. Like, why?
Yeah, but there's that too. And then I think the biggest thing is cutie cuffs.
Do you know what those are?
No, tell me more.
Yeah, I didn't know.
They're
either.
just like little Disney. They have Disney, Star Wars, Groot, Stitch, princesses. They're just like little characters that like are like slinky armbands, I guess.
Oh, okay.
You know, like those slap bracelets.
Yeah.
And they can hook
and there's
on
like
stuff.
kind of like those fingerling things.
That's what they are, pretty much.
My daughter tries getting me to spend money on those at the store, and I'm like,
now
sorry,
you'll have to.
I'm cheap.
Yeah, Grace and Ella were obsessed with them.
So we used to buy those at Target, and she actually used my mom's card on them because.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we went to Target.
Can't get in trouble now.
Took my mom's card, and we paid with my mom's
Grace
card.
took the card, or you did?
Well, we both did. So we took my mom's card and spent our money on those.
Does your mom know this now, or is she going to find out?
She knows.
Okay.
She knows.
Did she care when it happened?
No, she gave us the card, but she didn't. I don't think she expected us to use it. But we spent our money on that.
Girl emergencies.
Right.
So we got those, and I don't remember our first ones, but we used to always get those, and I think we bought like 2 each. And mind you, they're $8 each. So now I have literally probably almost 50 of them.
Oh.
And it's
become a habit.
I think the other day I spent $50 just on those.
I love it.
Well,
I love me a scavenger hunt, so if there's a certain one you're ever looking for, I will forever keep an eye out.
And that's what we actually always used to do. There's little dots in them, so we'd literally look so stupid. It was like 11:30 at night at Target.
Try to peek in,
and we would look in to see if we would get our one that we wanted.
Because it's like a mystery.
Yeah, and I don't do that now because I think it's just more fun.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's kind of like when I open it, it's kind of like Grace sent me this. So they came out with like a new princess series, and the first one I opened was Ariel, and it was kind of just like an eye-opening to me, like that.
She loved Ariel.
We both did, and that was my movie as a kid. So that's a big thing I do, and I have them all around my car. They're on my. We both kept them in our car. Obviously, I didn't have a car at the time.
Well, though you have one from the car.
I do, and that's something I was going to mention. I actually keep it above my bed. That was one of the ones that we got together. And it still has like the ashes around it and stuff like that, which is crazy that it survived that.
Isn't it?
But I think that was like a big sign to me that was left for a reason.
Yeah.
And it stays above my bed, so it kind of feels like she's over me when I sleep.
And you've decorated her tree at the park with them.
Yeah. So that's a big thing that I kind of do. I even buy like Star Wars ones. Like there's so many different ones.
But she did something very cute for the celebration of life.
Yeah.
And she bought. Well, tell everybody.
I bought. I guess everyone.
Yeah.
Excuse me, a cutie cuff. So
for the celebration
of life, I brought. There was like 10 of them, and I brought
just for the family.
Okay.
But we all opened them together.
And I think somebody got Stitch, which was really cool because that was like hers.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think what else. I have 2 tattoos for her, which I kind of just at the age of 15 got a tattoo, and then recently I got
on
one.
YouTube,
so
they can see our faces.
Yes.
So if you want to show them your tattoos.
So I have a 5477, which is just how many days I had with Grace. So for my birthday, up until the last day that she had here.
Isn't that the
so special?
And
That's
then
such
this
a
was
good
my
idea.
this was my most
I know,
recent
it makes you
one.
think,
So,
doesn't it?
and then I have this was my first one. This was I was almost 16. So still just a baby.
So if you can't see it, it's
just a rose vine. Her favorite was roses. Wraps around my wrist up into my forearm. And it's not anything big. It's not anything huge, but it just kind of is a reminder that
Well, and on one of our other podcasts, we were talking about our tattoos and the symbolism behind it. And like Ella said, the rose was her favorite. So she drew this one, and it was on her right shoulder. She also got her first one when she was 17. So you beat her. And she's probably like, dang it, my parents wouldn't let me get one at 15. But she was the first of her friend groups to get one. And I know you were one of the first of your friend groups to get one too. But the numbers are so symbolic, and I had a moment when I saw those, and I couldn't even talk to you.
And it was a surprise to my whole family. I surprised them at somebody's birthday. I actually got 2, so the one on my back is it's on my right shoulder. It's horses running. It looks like faded. It's how it's supposed to look, but that one is a little tied into her, but not too much on purpose. Obviously we loved sharing the bond over horses, and then it has a verse, Philippians, I think it's 1:6, and it just says, instead of being anxious, give your prayers to God. And that kind of is really big to me because I do struggle with anxiety a lot. And it just talks about, instead of having
all
those
your
feelings,
cares
just
on
give
him,
everything.
for he cares for you.
So that's on my back too. And then,
and she wants to get more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the one that she had on her wrist too. So
Oh, the puppy.
Yeah,
The puppy paw
paw
print
one.
that was on sale for $25.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But I sleep sometimes with her. I wear her vet sweatshirt she has that has holes in the back from God knows what. I have one of her perfumes, so I spray that on it sometimes, and I'll sleep with it occasionally. So that kind of brings me back. And then I think this is my last one, but I wore number 23 on my softball jersey on the back, I guess the season after she passed, and that was obviously her age, so there wasn't really anything I wanted to.
That's my number. Corey and I met on September 23rd, and then we had Parker on June 23rd, and then it just basically anything that we ever did happened on the 23rd, so 23 is always like my number.
Yeah.
It's just like my lucky number.
Surprise.
You
didn't know that was coming, did
23 on my jersey for that season, and it kind of it was just like a thing for her. And then I also had I had something on my cleat. I can't remember what I had on it.
Did you write 23 on the back, on the heel?
No. I think I want to say I just had a G. Maybe. Or maybe it may have just been her name. I don't really remember.
I have to look it up.
But I had something on my cleat for her, and that was always something as well. But yeah,
so as a parent, in looking at the children in our family, nieces, nephews, and my own son, who's the youngest, I've noticed that teens grieve very, very differently than adults do.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's anything that stands out in our differences?
I think we don't do it as emotionally. Cole, your youngest, we handle things very similarly, I think.
Do you think that's your age, or do you think that's your personality?
Right,
I don't know.
What I'm wondering too, because I feel the same way.
Yeah, I think it's honestly just my personality. I don't know if there's any difference with other people my age, but I just don't handle things very emotionally. And I kind of, like, sometimes I'll make jokes out of it just to deal with it.
We do too.
Yeah.
Same.
Like, to my friends or like people that don't know me. Like, that's like I use it kind of as like a fun fact, like,
right,
as terrible. That's
no,
kind of
right.
just what I
when
do.
people ask me for like like 3 truths, 1 lie or whatever that is, or like some fun fact. And I'm like, is it a Debbie Downer to say I have a dead family? Like, but that's like the coolest fact I have.
Right.
Probably the most
true.
thing that everyone knows about me. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, because saying I'm the oldest seems so like minor.
And that's what I use. Like I say that, and like I've had open heart surgery. Like surprise.
I think that's a little like that should be sad and scary, but I think that's probably a better one to choose.
So sometimes I'll joke about it, like, but I think that may be with I don't know. I don't think there's really any specific. I think it's targeted more towards your individual personality.
And those are fun facts, but
not very fun to me.
Right.
But
No, it is interesting though, because I reached out to you to keep an eye on Cole, my youngest, because I couldn't figure out how he was coping.
And I
would
that's
say
how
now
you
he's
do
gonna
with my
know.
mom too.
Yeah.
I was going to say now he's going to know, but he won't because he's not
No,
going to
He didn't
No.
even know
He will
until
not
last
listen.
week that there was a podcast. He won't listen.
No.
He won't
No,
listen.
but I remember something very specifically because I didn't see you 3 cry, you and your brother and sister. I think I saw your sister cry a little bit. I don't think I ever saw your brother cry, and I don't remember you crying much.
The only time I really, really cried was at her celebration of life, and I saw when he started talking about me and her, and that really got me.
So
and pictures on the wall of me and her.
We had walked to the back, me and my husband and my kids, and we went back there and prayed before it actually started, because we did the like visitation and the celebration right back to back. And so when we came in, of course, everybody was already sitting down, and I walked in, and I sat right next to Ella, and she grabbed my hand, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if this helps or if this hurts more, because I didn't want to look at you, and I was trying so hard not to actually look around and see her, like, so I couldn't tell if you were crying or if you weren't. That was a mystery to me because I didn't want to really look.
I think I was really just honestly trying to hold it in like the entire time. So,
are you a crier by yourself or with people, or just not at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
Like again, I'll have like days.
Yeah. Right.
But it's maybe once a month where I'll have those days.
You're not the type of person that would make a scene.
No.
I'm like, don't look. If you don't touch me when I cry, all will be well. Way quicker. Just go to the car.
Is there something that you wish adults would do different when it comes to grief? Like, I know with Cole, I had to give him his space. He got upset if I asked him over and over.
That's kind of how, that's how my mom and I are. Sometimes she kind of pushes and is like, why don't you go to these things more? And that's just not what I want to do. And that's just not how I cope for grief. Like any of the things that we do for like promoting.
Oh, like, for like awareness. MAD or okay.
Like I haven't gone to any of those. Right. And shocker, I'm on a podcast now, but
But I can relate to that too because like I'm not like super involved with stuff either, but like it's because I feel like I'm so far out in a way that like it basically just rips wounds back open and it's hard to heal like when I'm throwing myself back in it. Right. You know what I mean? So
and
like,
I don't want people to feel bad for me.
Yes.
That's another thing.
You don't want to be the charity case. Right. Like where people are just hugging you and they're like, I'm so sorry. Like I know. Like,
right.
Yeah. Just don't.
Yeah. That's exactly. Yep.
Do you feel like adults have given you space that you need to grieve?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Has so I was going to ask you, sorry, my brain kind of split directions. I was going to ask you one thing, but I changed my mind. And now I just want to ask, since you don't do the MAD things and you mentioned, here you are on a podcast now, what made you decide to do this?
I
don't know. I was free.
Honestly, I kind of just wanted to like, it's different hearing from a 17-year-old's perspective that's a lot of that starts. And obviously that's how old most of the kids were. And I think it's just different hearing from somebody from two sides of the story. And obviously more to like continue her story and bring awareness to it. But I think a lot of it was just because I think it would have been like a different perspective from somebody.
And before this happened to you, do you feel like this would have been an important topic to you, or like would you have spoke up to friends? Do you feel like this has altered your brain?
It was.
You know?
I think it has. I don't know about before because I was just a freshman, and there really wasn't like a whole lot of that. None of us even had our licenses, so
you knew it was
we
bad,
couldn't.
right?
I really didn't hear much about it before any of it. Especially like I said, I was so young that I really didn't pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's really just overall just changed me like in ways that like I said, I don't really go to big gatherings or like homecoming, proms, and stuff like that. I mean, I do my best to like go to parties when I'm invited, but it doesn't mean I want to go.
Well, that, and then like has your invites to things lessened because of who you are?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Same.
Yeah, I think it has. And I think, I don't know if like my entire school knows that I'm that girl.
Gosh, I hate that for us. Because you've said that so many times. You're that girl. And you say that
girl. And I was just like,
and I'm that mom. You were that girl. You're that girl now.
Well, I don't know if anybody realizes that though. I mean, I really don't know.
But would it be like, oh, there's that girl that her cousin and her
I don't think so. I think early on. But I don't think I made it very known. Mm-hmm. I think my friend group knew, which I really don't hang out with my friend group anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's maybe why, but I know it was the same friend group that was with my friend, who also passed.
But it wasn't a conscious choice where you were like, okay, I'm done with these people. I'm walking away.
No. And I don't know if that's maybe influenced them to stop inviting me places, just because maybe I just don't have as much fun. Mm-hmm. Just because that's just how I kind of am now. Right. And there's so many other factors that go into it as why I do that. But I think maybe that has to play a part in the reason I don't. Just because I'm not as outgoing. Yeah. And stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I bet you do. I know you've said such similar things.
Yeah.
So.
I'm a super social, like social media girl with like no real friends. Like I have like 1 or 2 real friends, but like all these people know me and like support me and cheer me on, but like I'm not like a friend, like group kind of friend. Like I'm usually no one's like first choice friend.
Oh, no.
That sounds so bad, but like I'm like an old
gone
lady
through the list. Hey, let's call Destiny.
My friends are gonna hopefully listen to this, so hopefully don't.
Yeah, what if they do? Everybody, it will be so popular. Most shared podcast yet.
I hope so. Maybe.
No, it was important for us, exactly for what you said. We felt like we needed a perspective from somebody who is in that age group.
Yeah.
Because as adults now, like your growing up was different because you didn't go to those parties. You didn't participate in that.
But I grew up seeing like drugs and alcohol like in my childhood, so I was scared of it. You know what I mean? I was scared because I thought everybody would get angry or everybody would get violent if they drank or did drugs.
Right.
So like I had like a skewed way that made me scared, but like I just didn't attend. You know what I mean? But I wonder, like, would things have been different if I wasn't exposed to that?
Well, again, would have, could have, should have. You can't change your childhood, and you know, I have some baggage in mine too that would have made me a different person. But ultimately, we all do. Ultimately, it is who we are. We can't go back and change it, and even if we don't like it, it is what it is, and we try to make the best going forward.
We can only control our own choices moving forward.
Yeah. If Grace were here, or if she could hear this podcast, this is a hard question because I think about all the time, what would she think of my speaking? Like, she was, I think, similar to you. Right.
I think she'd kind of be like, Mom, stop.
Yeah.
Like, stop.
Yeah, that's enough. Quit talking about me. Quit sharing all the pictures.
And I think that's how she would. But, I mean, I think I would just be like, I don't know. I think I'd laugh, but I'd be with us. I think it'd be like kind of not an awkward, but like a funny, like, I still love you.
Yeah. Do you think she is proud of you and who you've become in 2 years? That
I mean, I think so. I'd hope so. I think it's cool, like what I've been doing with my horse, and I think she'd think that's really cool.
I do too.
And I think that would have been something that she's I guess, jealous of.
Oh, so jealous of. And you know, she would meet you out there at the stables every night. And you're like, I'm not going out there tonight. And she's like, fine, I will.
Nah.
We can't let that horse ever be alone.
Yeah. But I think I just tell her, like, about everything, like how many animals I have now.
Yeah. She
and
would
I think
love
she'd,
it.
because it's increased by 2 since. And that, like, I don't come across as I'm, like, trying to fight for change, but I am in my own ways.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And just, like, that her life mattered and still matters. So, yeah.
So from the beginning, we have been very vocal about how we want this to change the world and we want to change social norms, but it's never been like everybody should do a podcast or everybody should volunteer with MAD or everybody should go to the Capitol and demand change. It's so much about our individual personalities being okay. And it's okay that you started 8 years later. That's always okay. It's okay that maybe I started too soon and didn't let myself grieve her first. And it's okay that you don't show up to MAD events at this point in your life, and you never know what might happen in the future. But never feel like anybody in our family is judging you for not going to those things. And I think you know that because Uncle Tom doesn't go, Cole doesn't go, Jake doesn't go, and that is totally okay. It's okay for us to grieve differently and also advocate differently. And you are changing the world for your age group. You're talking to your friends. Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Me too.
Thank you for being with us today.
And just another reminder, we have our documentary premiere on August 6th at the Dardine Prairie Marcus Theater, Town Square. We are super excited. Hopefully the next episode we will go ahead and release our P.O. Box number, our wish list, and announce more details on the backpack supply drive that'll be taking place throughout the summer into our documentary premiere.
And that will be 5 to 8 that day. Time for people to come in and like mingle with MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, local law enforcement. I believe the Highway Patrol is going to bring like their drunk goggles, so that'll be fun. And so the documentary is not 3 hours long.
No.
So what is that? Tell me what that's all about.
Sure.
And what it's on.
So the documentary will showcase my story and struggles that I have went through and my family and people that were there on scene. And then it'll also showcase Jennifer and Grace's story and the rest of your family and just kind of show the impact of what drunk driving has.
So the whole message of Beyond the Headlights is that while we've faced huge, enormous loss, life does go on beyond the headlights, and it's just kind of like what we went through, how we coped a little bit, and how enormously missed our people are.
Yeah, it's just raising awareness, helping us make some noise and be a voice for those that no longer have a voice.
So can anybody come to that?
Yes, so anyone can come. We only have a limited amount of tickets, so once we release that link to get your ticket, we urge you to do that as quickly as possible, and I have a vision of having every seat filled in that theater.
I know. Yeah, we're going to have swag bags and like some giveaway stuff, and then of course the school supply drive, so that for Grace and Parker's birthdays they can give back. We can give back in honor of them.
Feels good.
It feels good. Yeah.
We're excited.
Yeah. So tell your friends.
Yeah. Share it everywhere.
I will.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
We hope today's episode brought you comfort, understanding, and a renewed sense of hope. If you found value in our conversation, please consider sharing this podcast with someone who might benefit from it.
Until next time, hold on to hope, honor the memories of those that you love, and take one step at a time toward healing. You're not alone on this path. Take care and be well.